came from a very typical family, right? We live in a small little flat. Growing up, childhood, it was quite difficult, like financially. Like, we went to, you go to Mid Valley. I mean, like 20 years back, Mid Valley was pretty new, right? It was a hype back then. So I think, like, go to Mid Valley, back then, it was quite tough to even like, order thing that is, beyond like $15 or things like that. So it was like quite challenging. So, we always like try to, control a certain budget. So I think that was actually, my childhood, one part of my childhood, but, the other part was actually quite grateful that, my mom has always been very encouraging and, sort of like trained like my personality as well. So like, so I'm a very naughty kid, when I was a kid, right? I was actually educated in a way where, I'm supposed to handle my own situation. Like when I have a problem with the teacher, it's like, hey, my mom will be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to tell you what you should do, but you're the one who's supposed to go and talk to your teacher, not me. And that's awesome. So I sort of being brought up in that kind of environment, and I think that was actually very helpful, in terms of like shaping my personality, in the long run.
Just like the market you cater to, the idea for Kravve actually began from home, more specifically in a conversation with your mother. Can you tell us more about that?
Right. So I still recall, it was a Sunday, I think. A couple of years back, it was Sunday. So I was still having a job right back then. I mean, I'm still having a job in Kravve, but that was, and I was in another company. So I think it was Sunday morning. So, as usual, I was just sitting around on my dining table in my house. So, I was talking to my mom casually, and, I'm not sure about, your mom, but my mom is being a very typical Asian mom. So I was like, hey, I made this really nice pumpkin jam and given to neighbors and given to the relatives, and they love it so much. Hey, why don't you try? Like she wanted to like sort of acknowledge her effort into making that nice jam. So like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. Having been working in a startup for a couple of years, I sort of understand a bit of what we call product market fit, right? So people like the product itself, so they're the people who is interested to buy. So it's like, since all these guys actually have high reviews about this product itself, I was like, hey, maybe there's some form of product market fit there, and I was like, hey, why don't you actually sell it to somebody, and since we don't come from a very wealthy family, I thought maybe we could have a better Chinese New Year, because I think that was actually about 2 or 3 weeks prior to Chinese New Year for that year itself. I was like, maybe we can sell some of this stuff and then we have a better Chinese New Year. So, unfortunately, she told me that, hey, it's not really something that is as straightforward as you think. And, being young and being naive that time. So I was like, hey, I don't believe you, let me just try to sell. So, long story short, I didn't make it. So I think that was when I discovered, how difficult it is, for a, stay-at-home mom like my mom, to actually make it work for herself, right? Even though she has a skill set, right? She's supposed to be able to monetize her skill set, but she can't because there's a lot of obstacles in between. And that's also why this is also how I discover, moving on from it, I discovered that, hey, this is not a problem that is unique to my mom, right? And there are a lot of people out there who are actually facing the same kind of issue as well. So that's where I thought, hey, maybe this is something that I really want to work on and really want to solve it as well.
So how did the conversation with your mom lead to you and your partners actually seeing this gap in the market and actually taking action on it?
It was, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? I tried a couple of times, didn't make it. I was always seeking an opportunity to really venture on my own. I want to do something that's impactful, but at the same time, I do not want to do, I don't want to run business for the sake of running a business, right? That's not what I really wanted to do. So, that was where, I chanced upon, this really amazing opportunity. And I think that it's also a problem that lies deeply in my heart, because I personally experienced that problem on my own as well. So that was when, I thought, hey, maybe I could just give it a try. And back then I did not have a partner. I only came across two of my co-founders like 1 or 2 years later. They joined sort of midway, but although they're still the second or third person in the company. But yeah, so I started it that directly because I've always been looking out to see what can I really do. And that was what I wanted to do at that point in time.
Going back to a corporate job, you're going to get paid so much more, but you chose this path and to pay yourself that amount of money, this is your own decision. And despite those challenges, Kravve has actually recently made headlines because you guys managed to raise 1.2 million ringgit. Can you walk us through that process of how you guys did that?
Right, okay. So initially we didn't want to raise 1.2 million, we wanted to raise like 200K. So very, very grateful that, a lot of people are rallying behind us and, they are supporting the kind of vision and mission that we see as well. So I guess I think if I was to just sort of like tweak the question a bit more, right, in terms of like what I've learned throughout that journey, I think one of the major factor was actually we are telling that story, and I think that's what Malaysian entrepreneurs are lacking of. I think we fail to tell a story that can be that can resonate with a lot more people. Like a lot of Malaysian entrepreneurs have great mission, great vision as well. But I think we are so shy. We're not like Americans, right? We are just we don't keep things like we so that we are don't seen as like arrogant and things like that, right? It's just within our upbringing, and so that's what I see a lot. And I think that is actually what's stopping us to get community to rally behind us. And I think when you have a great cause, right, you sort of need to tell it to people, tell it to the world. Hey, you know what? This is a great cause. Those who agree with this cause, come together and let's make it to reality. Because I believe that any great cause wouldn't be able to become a reality with just one person. You need a bunch of people around you to make it reality. And I think that was actually one of the factors that I think leads to our somehow success towards fundraising, because we are telling the story. And I think we want, we had a presentation for the 45 minutes to the investors, to the potential investors. And I always end up with one line. So I was like, hey, you know what? Those numbers that I show you guys, if it looks amazing, cool, awesome. But if you are really investing, I hope that you are not investing because of the numbers that you are seeing, but also because you truly believe in the kind of future that we are building. And I think that is what you truly wanted to invest in. So because beautiful numbers, you can get it anywhere in the world. But if you really want to actually, invest in something that you truly believe in, and that was also one of the, sort of disclaimer that I gave to the investor throughout during the end of the presentation. And I think that was actually one of my key takeaways, because since then, I think we have got a lot more people understand what we do. They do not see us as just a place to buy some food, but a place where it's beyond food, just to speak.